Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, Mysterious Voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I've found in my travels. Today it is Poetry Thursday, a wonderful day to talk about some cool and nifty poetry. And today's poem is all about ghosts of the past, whether they be literal or metaphorical. I am referring to Calling the Dead by Jennifer Wong. For those who don't know, Jennifer Wong is a Hong Kongian British writer who has been getting their work published since the mid-2000s. They primarily write poetry, but they also do translation work as well. And they've taught at various places too. That's pretty much all I know about them, apart from the poem that I've sort of stumbled across today. So without further ado, let's talk about this poem. I will read it, do a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. Calling the Dead. On certain nights they come back, ghost story fragments lodged in my head from midnight taxi rides. Almost always a woman in a red dress, hollow laughter, and a ball bouncing in a playground. Lost souls crossing the misty river where Ming offers them soup to forget before their next life. And those afternoons when my mind would spin with ominous tales, each school in Hong Kong a graveyard. We begged for our turn to go to the loo together, believed ghostly hands would spout from the faucets to bring us back to a wartime colony where Japanese soldiers raced with each other to slash more heads. The girl from my class kept a scrapbook of ghost stories. I learned that vampires in Qing Dynasty robes don't hop sideways. Some actors never came back from film shoots, and careless children disappear with each UFO. We huddled around a quivering soy sauce dish to see it move through the Ouija board. It's be hard to make dish spirits leave, and other myths of the land of the missing. My first friend in high school, our birthdays a day apart, used to show me her palm lines, one line shorter than the rest. What do you think of the place where you are now? Will we be friends in our next lives? In terms of analysis, that was Calling the Dead. Just something interesting to note is I sort of stumbled across this poem when I was in my hunt for Halloween poetry. And I don't think this is necessarily spooky, but its atmosphere is dark. It's sort of one of the leftovers from Spooktober. But this, in terms of narrative, this poem seems to be a person recalling the past, their time in Hong Kong. Maybe the narrator is the author themselves, and people they knew, and sort of adding mystical elements to the story. One important thing that I don't talk about enough is the sort of tense of the poem, like what it's focused on, and it refers a lot to the past. You see that in the very beginning when the narrator says, "On certain nights they come back, ghost story fragments lodged in my head from midnight taxi rides." And then they talk about their time in Hong Kong, and they say, the girl from my class kept a scrapbook of ghost stories. I learned that vampires in Qing Dynasty robes don't hop sideways. And there's more there. Sort of talking about the time of their youth, but doing so in a very dark kind of way. Focusing on like the history of the region with Japanese soldiers invading during World War II, and talking about myths and children disappearing, talking about vampires. It's pretty dark, and so what I think is this is the narrator reflecting on a past that maybe they're not completely happy with, or maybe there's depression in the present, and that's influencing their perspective and what type of memories that they're focusing on. The more sad, the more somber type of poetry. But there's also a celebration of culture here. You see that in the first verse where they say, lost souls crossing the misty river where Ming offers them soup to forget before their next life. So focusing on maybe the afterlife or the supernatural there. Ghosts and, which are somewhat of a big deal in Chinese folklore. And, even doing like palm readings, palm lines, like looking at your palm and saying, will we be friends in the next life? I think there's a lot to be gleaned from that sort of celebrating culture, but also the sad, somber nature of maybe a time that you can no longer go back to, or a time that's been tinged with melancholy because of your present state. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Calling the Dead. Pretty depressing analysis, but that does happen from time to time. Still a pretty good poem, one that definitely conjures up memories of the past since I've been reading it a little bit. And that's why I chose to talk about it here today. If you have any thoughts on the poem, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can, find out about this poet or this poem if they don't already know. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and past remembering travels. Farewell.